Hello everyone, hope you are all well. Welcome back to the Console Therapy YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to be replacing the USB charge port on this Xbox One controller.
For your Xbox and PlayStation repairs, visit consoletherapy.com.
So this Xbox One controller was sent in by one of our customers, and unfortunately what they've done, they have actually broken the USB charge port. So they've usually got a little charge pack in here, which they removed before sending it to us, which is good. However, the actual USB port, which is used to charge the battery pack, has snapped off. So we are going to open up the controller and we are going to replace that for our customer. So, easiest way to open up one of these controllers without causing too much damage is we need to take the thumb grips off to the side first of all. Now the easiest way to do that is get your pry tool, just slowly work the pry tool into the side there, just like so. It looks like this one's already been opened. Now, under the label, which is behind the battery pack or the batteries, there's a screw, so we need to peel back that label, and there's also 4 screws underneath the thumb grip. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll peel back the label first of all. To get to that screw, which is just under there, as you can see. So then the front panel pops off nice and easily. Take off the actual thumbsticks, like so. Spin it back over and then wiggle off the back, like so. Now the part we need to get to is up here. Okay, but what we need to do is actually take out both of these boards. So you've got your rumble motors just here, your main ones. There's 2 rumble motors up here in the triggers as well. So we're going to pop these motors off either side. Yes, it's definitely been opened up before. There's actually a cable fixed there. And that cable is actually soldered to the wrong point on the actual board. Anyhow. Right, so let's take these off. 1, 2, and they're the cables which go up to the actual rumble motors in the triggers. And then 1, 2, take the motor off. Same for this side. 1, 2, take that motor off. And then the black and grey cable, take that off. And then you've got the aerial cable here, that just pops off nice and easily. There's normally a protective label over here, so it's not on this as well. It looks like the thumbstick has been replaced at some point on this as well. Now I don't think this wasn't our customer that actually did that. I think it's obviously gone to another repair shop. Okay. Now we need to take off this first board, so we'll grab smaller Torx, 2 screws, 1 that side and then 1 down that side, and then this board, this bottom board here, give it a wiggle and off it pops, like so. Headphone jack, just move that out of the way, and you can start to see now where we actually need to get to, which is just up here. Pop off the plastic at the top, so there's a little connector here and here, so just get your fingernail and just pop that over like so, really easy. Give that a wiggle and then off that comes. The buttons come off as well, like so. Then we need to take out this board and then get this USB port replaced. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws that I've got to come out for this bottom board. And then you can remove the bottom board. When you do, there's a rubber membrane for the buttons. You put your thumb on that and just hold that down. I mean, this normally falls out anyhow. The button's only going one way around anyhow. So if they do pop out, you can only get them in one way around anyhow. Right, we can set that to one side and then take a closer look at this. So as you can see, the actual USB port is completely gone. There's part of it left, and some of the pads have been lifted from the board itself, but we can get that repaired. Right, so let's get under the microscope and get a close-up look of what we're going to do. Right, so here we are under the microscope. Now, as you can see, here's the remains of the USB port. The pads are lifted all the way along here. Not too worried about this main pad here because that's an earthing pad, so grounding pad. Same for here, but we've still got some areas that we can actually solder that to, so that's fine. This might be a bit of a problem. We just need to tidy that up a little bit because obviously the port itself needs to be held into place. There's a little bit of a pad underneath this side, so that's fine. So first things first, let's get this metal bar, or remains of the actual USB port, out of the way. So we're going to flip it over, and then these four, so where we are, this is the LED, the power LED for the actual controller, and then just above that there's normally 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 solder points which hold the USB port in position. So we're just going to get those removed quickly. Let's actually just put a little bit of flux on there first of all. So with our desoldering gun, that solder is now out of the way. With a bit of luck, this bar will just now pull up and out of the way. There we go, like so. Got rid of that. Solder in there. A little bit of flux. And then we can see actually there's some remains of the legs from the USB port still on the pads, so just heat those and get that out of the way. On there as well. So we've got one of the pads here missing. That one's connected to ground, so that's fine. And then we've got the grounding pad there. So let's just give the area a bit of a clean up with some IPA first of all. As I say, this controller has definitely been repaired previously by someone else. Right, so that's it cleaned up a bit. Now what we're going to do is grab our replacement USB port. So here we go, here's our replacement port. So first things first, we just need to make sure that the legs are nice and straight on it, which they are. And then I just want to see if all the holes line up and they're free of solder, which they are. And then we're just going to have a quick look down the barrel and see how well those pads and legs line up. They look pretty good actually, obviously apart from the one that's missing. So what we're going to do, just going to pop that off. And it was the middle, wasn't it? Yes, the middle pad which is missing. So quick tip for you, if 1, 2 or 3 pads are missing, what you can do before you even start to try and solder the new connector, new port in place, just grab yourself a little bit of flux on the legs first of all, and just give them a bit of a tin with some solder. So just going to come in with that soldering iron, just going to get a little bit of solder on the end of the soldering iron, and literally just come in and just touch each leg just to give it a tin of solder, like so. So hardly anything at all, but just a nice bit of coverage. And then what we're going to actually do is prep our new port with a bit of jumper wire. Right, so you can imagine when this port is in place on the motherboard, it's incredibly hard to try and get a jumper wire onto the leg where the pad's missing. So we're just going to put the jumper wire on now, and it was the middle pad which was missing, so we come along and just put our jumper wire like so. Just going to add a bit of flux first of all. Alright, so we're going to come along, as I say, with our jumper wire, and then just attach that to the leg where the pad is missing, nice and secure. And then what we're going to do, we're going to give it about half a centimetre, probably a bit too much. We're just going to cut the wire. Okay, so you're essentially left with the nice new port with the jumper wire on there. Now I just want to check that jumper wire looks like it might be touching the casing of the port, so I'm just going to pull it back a little bit out of the way just in case, like so. Good, definitely not touching now. Right, so as I say, what you'll be left with, obviously, depending on how many pads are lifted, you'll have a few little jumper wires on there, or maybe if you're lucky like me, you just got the one. Now, get the actual board back, pop in the new USB connector. Make sure it's all lining up to the holes correctly. Like so. And then what you'll see is obviously your little jumper wire is already there to be soldered in. Now, one thing to obviously mention, didn't mention earlier, let's just take that out. On here already, there's a fair amount of solder on the track already. If this wasn't there, then what you can do, get yourself a little razor blade and then just gently, very gently, just scrub along the track until you see the gold reveal from underneath the green, and then you can put some solder on it yourself. But this one, it's already got the solder on it. Okay, so our port's back in place. Now, the first thing to do is don't even think about the legs. Get all of these holding points in. Make sure it's lined up like it is. It's coming with a bit of flux. I'm going to do these top ones first of all because they've got the most pad to solder to. So let's push down nicely. Come in with our soldering iron. Spin it around so it's a bit easier for me. Make sure it's nice and seated. And then just apply your solder over here. done a little bit of solder on these top parts. Just check that's still aligned, it is good. And then same for up here. Just a little touch of solder just to hold it in place. Now the thing to do is spin the board over, and now you can secure the new USB port a lot easier into place. Alright, so the solder on the other side is holding it. We know it's in the right position, which is great. Now we come in with a little bit more solder just to make it a little bit more secure. So here we come. 1, 2, 3, and the last one, 4. Okay, don't forget your IPA, give the area a good clean, get rid of all that flux, and it's particularly important on this side of the PCB because here, this big round disc here, is the actual connectors for the power button. So make sure you give it a good clean this side and get rid of all that flux. Otherwise you might find that the flux interferes with you turning your controller back on. Good. Okay, back to this side. And then what we're going to need to do is come in with our soldering iron and just gently touch those legs. And we're going to do the actual jumper wire last, right? So I'm going to come in with some flux along there, fine tip soldering iron, just come in and just touch those legs like so. And then as we've got solder already on our legs, we've made a good join. And then the final thing to do is just make sure our jumper wire is not touching anything else. It's already touching that solder point, which is great for us. And then we're just literally going to really quickly touch the jumper wire onto that solder, like so. Let's see if that moves now. No, it doesn't, which is good. And then very carefully we're going to cut the excess of the jumper wire off in between the tracks, like so. And then we're going to come in and give the whole area a clean. Now these two points to the left and to the right, there's not a lot I can do. I can probably get a little bit of solder on there, which I'll do in a minute, but I can't do anything this side. However, you know, there is a big pad underneath each side here. So what we can do is actually get some solder onto that and then join this side of the connector to ground that way. Probably get a bit of solder in there. Let's just do that now quickly. The main point today is just make sure the connector is grounded. Okay, so that's the port back on. Right, so I'm going to continue giving it a clean up, and then what we'll do, we'll jump back to the main camera and reassemble everything. Okay, so that's everything nice and cleaned up now. What I'm going to do is just put a tiny bit of green PCB mask along where we put the jumper wire, just to make sure that's nice and covered, like so. We will just get our UV light just to cure that. Okay, good. And then we can reassemble everything. Now, you know, what it's always worth doing is you've got the controller in pieces anyhow, so you might as well just go around and just check everything, make sure everything's nice and clean, make sure there's nothing rubbing on the buttons. Yeah, sometimes you can get a little bit of muck in the buttons and that causes the buttons to stick. Get your top board and you'll see these little connectors here, the gold connectors for the headphone sockets. Always give those a nice clean up, because you might have got some flux over them or something, or even your fingerprints. There's kind of a bit of a weak point in the design of these controllers, so give those points a nice clean up. Do the same on the actual headphone jack itself. Headphone jack pops into place just there. Make sure the cables for the rumble motors are out the way. Pop in your top board. There's a little connector to connect the two boards together. Give that a click down. Then get your two screws that we took out earlier. One in this corner, one in the other corner, like so. Get your Wi-Fi aerial cable, feed this along there, and there's this little pop connector, just pops on like so, like that. And then what we need to do is get our motors connected back up. So there is there's two pads each side, so two pairs each side. The rumble trigger rumbles go to the top, and the motor go to the bottom two. So let's get those connected. Right, so this is what I mentioned earlier. So someone's actually broken that cable and resoldered it. So what I'm going to do is actually give our customer another motor with a proper unbroken cable on it. Don't like putting broken cables back into things. Fold those cables over. Yeah, that is really unfortunate. Whoever did this job before was really bodged changing the actual joystick in this. But we'll just test it to make sure it works. Customer didn't ask us to change that, so we'll test it, make sure it works, and if it works, great, we'll leave it as is. Right, so now we need to put it all back into the case. So get your casing, literally just drop it in. The main points to look for when you're doing this is these battery prongs. So obviously make sure they go through the case. You sharp in this side of the case. Give it a wiggle, drop it down. And we find putting the triggers drops it down. Get our thumbsticks, give them a good clean up. These ones don't look too bad actually. If they're really worn, I normally replace them free of charge as well. Very cheap. Okay, pop our thumbsticks on, give the outer a good clean while you've got it in your hands, because it's a lot easier. Drop that on, spin it over. First screw to go in is the one in the middle because that holds pretty much everything together. Put the label back down, and then we are back to our 2 screws per side underneath the, I won't call them thumb grips anymore, I'll call them grips. 1 and 2, like so. And then we literally just get the side connectors and just pop them on. So give it a squeeze, bang, goes back on. Give this side a squeeze, bang, it goes back on. Now the final thing to do is obviously test it. So let's get the USB port around the right way, pop it in, and there we go. White light, perfect. Working as it should. So that's it for this video. We'll obviously do some actually testing of the thumb screws of the buttons, and we'll do that on our test software. So as I say, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching, and thanks very much for your view. Hope you enjoyed it. Pretty straightforward video this time around, just showing you how to replace the USB charge port on an Xbox One controller. So feel free to pop along to consoletherapy.com for your console repairs. We provide a express repair service throughout the UK and Europe. So have a look at our prices on consoletherapy.com. And if you have any questions or comments, please pop them into the comment section of this video. We're always on YouTube, helping people out, answering any questions you've got. And it would be really helps out if you give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That would be great. So all that's left now to do is once again say thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, come back soon because we're posting more and more videos to the channel. And don't forget to visit consoletherapy.com for all your Xbox and PlayStation repairs. Take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.